Well, a global law firm based in New York has a lot of explaining to do to its partners, to its lawyers, to its clients, and to America and its fellow colleagues in the bar and in the law industry, because big law just bent the knee to Donald Trump because they don't want to be blacklisted, because they don't want any of the billions of dollars that they earn as a law firm touched, rather than do what's right when Donald Trump decided to put 14 different American law firms, global law firms based in America, on a list. We're back in the days of the communist witch hunt, and people are being made to declare they're either, with America or with the Reds. I'm Michael Popok. You're with us on Legal AF. Paul Weiss. I know the firm well. I worked at a competitor firm in New York to start my career. I wouldn't expect, or I'd be embarrassed if that firm, Skadden Arps, decided that they were going to obey rather than fight. Donald Trump is about to issue a list of 14 different law firms, apparently, that he wants to go after in retaliation and retribution because they weren't nice to him, because they wouldn't represent him, because they have partners that are for Democratic causes. And so now that he's in the bully pulpit of the presidency, he's going after them one by one. And we're just watching an elaborate exercise of payback, none of which helps the American people. Now, he put two firms, let's just show obey versus fight. He put two firms or three firms already on that list. Perkins firm out of Washington State, Covington and Burling out of D.C., Paul Weiss out of New York. Proud history, all of them. Paul Weiss in particular. Goes back to one of its founders, federal Judge Rifkind. The entire DNA of that firm is doing things that are extraordinary. It was the first firm, really, to have Jewish and non-Jewish, Gentile and Jewish partners work side by side, the Paul and the Weiss. They've always been leaders in diversity, equity, and inclusion before we even had a term called diversity, equity, inclusion. They recruited from law firms. They made sure that they had the right people, and that some of those people were women and Black and brown Americans and lawyers. But Paul Weiss can just throw it all in now because its reputation as a leader in the bar is in shreds. And it got embarrassed by Donald Trump to boot, because the version of the deal that he says he struck with the firm is different than the deal that the managing partner of the firm circulated to his partners to get approval. Now, here's the new reporting. Paul Weiss, which is a $3 billion revenue company, top 20 in the world, has basically, as most law firms do of that size, you can divide the world into two groups of people. I know, because I'm one of the two groups. You're either a litigator or you're a non-litigator, or as the transactional people like to say, you're either doing deals or you're litigating over them. And so in a firm of the size of Paul Weiss, sure, there's a couple of thousand lawyers. They're divided into departments and sub-departments, but you can really divide the world of a law firm into you're either transactional or you are a litigator. And the litigators wanted to do what litigators do best, like me. They wanted to fight. They wanted to do what the Perkins firm did in Washington, file a federal lawsuit and get a federal judge to side with them, which is what happened when Perkins was made persona non grata by Donald Trump with a proclamation putting them on a blacklist and their clients on a blacklist and taking away their top secret security clearance as a law firm, which you need in order to do work for and against the government. It would have killed the firm, put them and their several hundred employees, voters, people who earn a paycheck out on an unemployment line. That firm could have bent the knee, but they filed their lawsuit. And the Judge Beryl Howell, had already entered her order in their favor in joining the Trump administration when the head of Paul Weiss, Brad Karp, decided to cut the deal. In fact, most AmLaw or American lawyer top law firms just thought, okay, with Beryl Howell and a federal judge, the federal judges are going to be able to be a brake on Donald Trump's worst instincts. That wasn't the lesson, apparently, that Paul Weiss took away from it. So the litigators wanted to fight. The transactional people, the deal makers, wanted to make a deal. Just sort of goes right back to their DNA of who they are as lawyers. Now, according to the new reports, Paul Weiss went to a very well-known pugilistic pit bull litigation boutique called Quinn Emanuel. I know it well. I know lawyers there. I've hired them. I've been on the other side of them and the rest. Quinn Emanuel has a major partner there who was a part of defending Donald Trump in some of the cases and had been sort of in favor of the administration, but had decided they had gone too far and was willing to put Quinn Emanuel and his name on a lawsuit against the Trump administration. So Paul Weiss had the suit, had the claim, had the right, and had the lawyer at a major litigation boutique, which is known for winning, including it's the firm that's representing Mayor Adams in New York, all lined up. And yet they blinked. Instead, they used that lawyer at the Quinn Emanuel firm, according to reports, to make a contact with a buddy of his, Robert Kraft, who owns the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots owner is friends with Donald Trump. They move in the same circles in New York. They're about the same age. They're both wealthy. You know, they go to all the same clubs. And so Kraft apparently called Trump. Trump called Karp, who runs Paul Weiss for the last 20 years. And then there was a phone call and then a meeting in the White House. And from there, Donald Trump announced, we'll put it up here, Donald Trump announced the deal that was cut in social media posting, that they were going to get rid of their diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is the very soul of the law firm, that they were no longer going to promote people to help them gain a foothold in our profession. Terrible. That they were going to do whatever free legal service Donald Trump wanted for any of his policies. The way it was reported to the partners by Karp, he said, we're only going to do those things that, you know, we can agree to, like fighting anti-Semitism on college campuses and other things that are sort of like that. And we're not going to have to worry about renouncing our commitment to diversity. Wrong. So now Karp's got a lot of explaining to do because he got an overwhelming vote of his partnership, but under different terms than the one that Donald Trump announced. Now, either Donald Trump got it wrong or on purpose, or he did it intentionally in order to back Karp or paint him into a corner. Now, if I'm the partnership of Paul Weiss, this has the makings of tearing this partnership apart and certainly toppling the leadership of Karp. I would vote him out. I would hold an emergency meeting now. I'd put it to a vote, let him have his say, and I'd vote him out, run him out on a rail, put somebody else in, and whether they want to continue that deal or not. Now, I get it. They thought it was an existential threat. They didn't want to go the litigation route because that wasn't an assured outcome. And they'd have to litigate over that and look their clients in the eye. But if you're a firm of any merit, how do you look your clients in the eye now and tell them that when the going got tough, Paul Weiss got going and didn't do a darn thing? You're not supposed to shirk your responsibility. You're not supposed to shrink and melt under the spotlight. You're supposed to shine like a diamond. Yeah? You're either under pressure. A piece of coal, a lump of coal is either diamond or dust, and Paul Weiss is dust. And if I'm looking for a diamond and I'm paying $1,500, $1,800 an hour, $2,000 an hour, I expect more and I expect better. If I'm a partner there, I expect more and I expect better. And if I'm Judge Rifkind, who helped found that firm, I'm turning over in my grave. I'm spinning in my grave. They've just totally shat all over what made that firm different and great. And there's no other way to put it. I get the existential threat. I get the attempt to try to save dollars. But at the end of the day, you're just a partnership. You don't have shareholders. And if you make, I don't know, $2.5 million per partner instead of $3 million per partner, does it really matter if you've sacrificed on the altar of your greed all of your values that make you special, that make you different, that make you a leader in the bar? How can anyone look to Paul Weiss as a leader in the bar any longer? And it matters because big law, when they do the right thing, and they also represent, most big law firms represent, here's my question. Most big law firms, even small law firms, do what we call pro bono work, which is free work for the public good, taking on causes where people need a representation, need to prosecute a constitutional issue, a civil rights issue, an immigration issue. And big firms have the ability to do that and give back to society that way. Lawyers like me do also a fair amount of pro bono work. It's part of what makes being a lawyer so rewarding and the way we can contribute back to society. Now, Paul Weiss had done a fair amount of pro bono work. Are they now going to get out of the pro bono business? Is Donald Trump going to tell them to get out of the pro bono business, no longer represent people in civil or constitutional rights? Why would I go to Paul Weiss for that? To take on, some of these firms take on death penalty cases, constitutional cases like about women's rights or reproductive rights, voting rights projects. It's not just the public interest groups, the attorneys general, the non-governmental organizations, the NGOs that file lawsuits. A lot of them are law firms. Look, the law firm that prosecuted the case against Rudy Giuliani for defamation, that was another major New York firm called Wilkie Farr and Gallagher. I know all these firms because, I was part of that world when I came out of law school. And I worked at, as I said, a major firm like that. So Wilkie Farr did it for free. All the money went to Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss for the defamation case of the $158 million or whatever they're collecting. That is what these large law firms can do. Paul Weiss just pulled their own ticket. So big law matters because they also contribute back to society in addition to making scads and shed loads of money for their partners. There's supposed to be more than that. That's the profession that I joined. That's why it's a profession, not just a job, not just how much money can we make. If everybody in the law just wanted to make the most amount of money they could possibly make, I assure you, being a lawyer is not the way to do it. There's only so many hours in the day. We generally charge by billable hour. I mean, there's some contingency fee cases and some bonuses that you can get here and there, depending upon the type of practice that you have. But I would say 90% of lawyers are punching a clock. They're billing a client an hourly rate for an hour spent on their work. If you wanted to make a boatload of money, you'd go to Wall Street. You'd be an entrepreneur. You'd invent an app. You do something in artificial intelligence. You do something like Elon Musk. If that's all you cared about, that's not why I got into the law. If I wanted to make the most money, this is not the way I would do it. So I thought my profession stood for more than that. And Paul Weiss just let me down and everybody else. George Conway put up on his social media, he said he had to rub his eyes. He knows that firm the way I know that firm. He said, it can't be Paul Weiss that just caved. And what does that say for Donald Trump's now got a taste for the blood, right? The blood's in the water. He's got a taste for it now. He got Paul Weiss, one of the Mount Rushmore law firms, to bend the knee. Now I feel sorry for the other 14 law firms. And it's not just those 14 law firms. Donald Trump's also having Pam Bondi going after law firms who in her view, the Trump view, is violating law by filing meritless suits in immigration or otherwise. We got laws that protect meritless suit filing. Judges police that. We've got rules on the books against filing meritless lawsuits. You can lose your law license for doing it. We don't need the show of Pam Bondi setting up a list or a target list of law firms, targeting law firms for having any kind of diversity, equity, or inclusion program. Donald Trump is trying to make the face of American law, big law, because none of them wanted to represent him. And they got to push back and shove back. Paul Weiss has to be the outlier, has to be the anomaly. Got to follow the lead of Perkins. We got to fight. It's resist, not obey. I'm Michael Popok. You're here on Legal AF. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.